Time, 2:55 p.m. 300 seconds remaining until the shareholders' meeting that would decide the fate of Aurora Tech outside the conference room. Impeccably dressed financial power brokers were filing in one by one, each wearing a knowing smile. And I, Derek Rhodes, founder and CTO of this company, sat alone in the break room, my coffee long gone cold. On my phone screen, a number I once knew better than my own sent one final message: Derek, stop fighting. Leave with dignity. This is the last bit of respect I'm offering you. I turned off the screen and calmly dialed another number. To my personal trader on the other end, I said only 3 words: sell it all. The lights in Aurora Tech's top-floor conference room were blindingly bright. The massive circular table was carved from a single slab of African ebony, its polished surface reflecting every face in attendance with mirror-like clarity. Olivia sat at the head of the table in a perfectly tailored Chanel white pantsuit that made her already striking features even more radiant. A carefully calibrated smile played at her lips, warm enough to seem approachable, yet carrying an unmistakable air of authority. She was speaking, her voice carrying through the microphone with clarity and presence. I must thank Mr. Derek Rhodes, my ex-husband and one of Aurora Tech's founders. Without his extraordinary technical vision, Aurora wouldn't exist today. He poured 12 years of his life into this company, and every single one of us should remember his contributions. As her words faded, a smattering of perfunctory applause rippled through the room. Derek Rhodes sat at the very end of the table, the seat usually reserved for interns or note-takers. From this angle, Olivia's figure was partially obscured by the crowd, and I could only catch glimpses of the Patek Philippe celestial watch on her wrist catching the light. I'd given her that watch for her 30th birthday. Now, like its owner, it was drifting further and further away from me. There was no nameplate in front of me, no documents, just a cup of bitter, cold coffee. I was like an uninvited guest at someone else's party, watching quietly, my face betraying nothing. Beside Olivia sat Vincent Hayes. He wore a crisp Armani suit, and behind his gold-rimmed glasses, his gaze was sharp and calculating. As the company's chief legal officer and Olivia's most trusted confidant, he'd masterminded this entire legal coup against me. At this moment, he was surveying the room like a watchful hound, making sure everything followed the script. When his eyes swept past me, they lingered for half a second, a look that mixed a victor's pity with barely concealed contempt. I didn't meet his gaze. My attention was fixed entirely on the numbers scrolling across my phone screen. A trading app interface. The red and green candlestick charts were, at this moment, more beautiful to me than any landscape. Olivia's speech continued. But times change, and markets evolve. Aurora Tech cannot rest forever on past glory. We need more agile capital operations, broader international vision. After careful consideration, the board proposes that I, Olivia Rhodes, assume the role of chairwoman and CEO. With a restructured board to meet future challenges, she spoke with passionate conviction, as if she were the sole leader guiding everyone to new frontiers. The shareholders nodded along. Most of them had long been locked in by Vincent's promises of equity swaps and future dividends. Today's meeting was merely a formality, a coronation ceremony meticulously prepared for Olivia's ascension. No one remembered that this tech giant, once valued at over $300 billion, had been built by me, line by line of code, in a garage barely 20 square meters. No one remembered that the company's core Polaris series energy storage battery patent still belonged solely to me. All they knew was that Olivia, the savvy capital queen, could deliver the most direct returns. And I, the awkward, tech-obsessed nerd who couldn't work a room, had become a stumbling block to the company's growth. Now, please cast your votes. Shareholders, Vincent announced, clearing his throat. The result was a foregone conclusion. On the electronic screen, 92% support. A landslide, officially declaring the end of the Derek Rhodes era. The conference room erupted in sustained applause. Flashbulbs blazed, illuminating Olivia's triumphant face. She rose and bowed gracefully to the audience, basking in her moment of victory. I didn't move. I just watched my phone screen. The time read, 3 p.m. At the exact moment the voting results appeared, I pressed the final confirmation button. A dialog box popped up, transaction complete. You have successfully sold all shares of Aurora Tech. Total proceeds, 987. 456,000. Nearly 10 billion in cash. A silent dragon flowed quietly into my private account. At the same time, my other phone vibrated with an encrypted message. The sender was an old friend in Europe. The message was brief: Derek, all is ready. Your gift goes out globally in 5 minutes. I slowly raised my head, my gaze cutting through the cheering crowd to land one final time on the woman I'd once shared a bed with. Her face was radiant with a smile I'd never seen before. Poor thing. She had no idea that what she'd just inherited wasn't a tech empire. It was a ticking time bomb. And she was standing right at ground zero. Pop. The crisp sound of a cork echoed through the CEO's private lounge on the top floor of Aurora Tower. A bottle of Roman e Conti worth 6 figures was opened. Its deep red liquid shimmering in crystal glasses, releasing a rich, complex aroma. Olivia. Congratulations. Vincent raised his glass, his eyes crinkling with satisfaction. From today on, you're the queen of Aurora Tech. Olivia sank into the plush leather sofa, stretching lazily. A trace of fatigue crossed her face, but excitement was unmistakable. She kicked off her heels, her bare feet sinking into the soft wool carpet as she finally relaxed. Vincent, I couldn't have done this without you. She clinked her glass against his. Without your strategy, I'd never have pulled it off. Those old board members are like foxes. They're not foxes. They just see a bigger pie. Vincent took a slow sip of wine. Derek is a tech genius. But he doesn't understand people. And he certainly doesn't understand capital. He clung to his pathetic shares and his so-called founder halo. He was already obsolete. Yeah. Obsolete. Olivia sighed softly, her expression complicated. He didn't say a single word during the meeting. I almost felt sorry for him. Sorry for him. Vincent laughed as if she'd told a joke. Olivia. You're too soft. Business is war. Mercy to your enemy is cruelty to yourself. Have you forgotten how stubbornly he opposed your international strategy? He nearly ruined Aurora's future. Olivia's eyes chilled instantly. She remembered. A year ago, she'd pushed to bring in Wall Street capital and expand aggressively into overseas markets. Derek had cast the sole dissenting vote, arguing that the technical foundation wasn't stable enough and that expansion was too risky. Though the motion ultimately passed. That moment had been the breaking point of their marriage. In her eyes, Derek was nothing but a tech-obsessed control freak. Stubborn. Conservative. Completely unable to keep up with her vision. You're right. Olivia drained her glass in one gulp, as if swallowing the last shred of hesitation. I was too sentimental. From now on, Aurora Tech answers only to me. Vincent nodded approvingly and refilled her glass. That's the spirit. To your new beginning. And to our grand future. Cheers. They clinked glasses again. The atmosphere warm and intimate. Beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows lay the glittering city skyline. Millions of lights scattered like a river of stars. Olivia gazed at the panorama beneath her feet. A surge of ambition swelling in her chest. She'd won. She'd won the business. Shed the dead weight of a stifling marriage. And claimed the freedom she'd always craved. Then her phone on the coffee table buzzed softly. A bank notification. Olivia glanced at it casually at first, assuming it was a routine credit card alert. But her gaze froze the next instant, locking onto an impossibly long string of digits. Dear Ms. Olivia Rhodes. Your account ending in 4321 has received a transfer from Mr. Derek Rhodes in the amount of 100,000,000,000. Current balance 108. 732, 154. 00, $100 million. Olivia's mind went blank. When they'd divorced, they'd signed a property settlement agreement. Though she'd gotten the majority of the company's shares, she'd also given Derek a substantial amount of cash and real estate. But even so, $100 million was far beyond what the agreement specified. It felt more like hush money or charity. What does he mean by this? Olivia muttered, her brow furrowing. An inexplicable unease coiled around her heart like ivy. Vincent had seen the message too. He set down his glass and leaned closer. A smirk playing on his lips. 100 million. Looks like our genius is trying to buy himself a clear conscience. Good. This money can help fill the funding gap for our acquisition of that European chip company. He spoke as if this windfall had fallen from the sky. But Olivia's unease only grew. She knew Derek too well. He was a man of immense pride in his work but frugal to a fault in his personal life. He never played these kinds of mind games. If he'd done this, there was a reason. A wild thought shot into her mind. He couldn't have taken company money. No. Impossible. She'd had complete control over the company's finances for years. Every major expenditure required both her signature and the CFO's. Derek had no access. So where had this money come from? Before she could piece it together, Vincent's phone rang. A rapid, urgent series of rings. Hello. Mr. Lee. What's the emergency? Vincent answered, still sounding relaxed. Then his smile froze. What did you say? His voice shot up. Incredulous. The European Joint Quality Supervision Bureau just issued a red alert. Polaris Gen 3 batteries have a fatal thermal runaway defect. All electric vehicles using our batteries are being recalled. That's impossible. Absolutely impossible. Our products passed every domestic safety test. The stock price. What about the stock price? Whatever the person on the other end said made Vincent's face go white as paper. His hand began to tremble violently. As if the phone itself were red hot. Circuit breaker. It triggered at market open. He hung up, swayed, and collapsed onto the sofa. Eyes vacant. As if his soul had been ripped out. When Olivia heard the words thermal runaway defect, her heart plummeted into an abyss. An icy chill shot up from her feet and spread through every nerve. She snatched up her phone, fingers shaking, and opened the trading app. On the screen, the candlestick representing Aurora Tech's stock price plummeted vertically in a devastating straight line, slammed hard against the daily limit down. In minutes, nearly 100 billion in market value had evaporated. Below the chart, a bold red global breaking news alert seared her eyes. It was over. All of it. Olivia's mind had room for only 2 words. She finally understood what Derek's 100 million meant. It wasn't charity. It wasn't compensation. It was his share. From the divorce settlement. Of the proceeds from selling all his stock. He'd liquidated his entire position in the last 5 minutes before the shareholders' meeting. He'd escaped the sinking ship at its peak. Buzz. Another text alert. This time from her private banker. Olivia couldn't read any further. The world was spinning. Crumbling around her. Thud. The crystal glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. The deep red wine spread like blood across the white wool carpet. And Olivia herself crumpled, collapsing to the ground. At Aurora Tech's PR department, chaos reigned. Phones rang off the hook. Keyboards clattered. And frantic staff shouts blended into a symphony of the apocalypse. Hello. Aurora Tech regarding the rumors online. We'll issue an official statement shortly. Kill the trending searches. Whatever it costs. Get them down. Contact those media outlets. Tell them we're willing to negotiate for retractions. PR Director David Zhang was red-eyed. His voice completely hoarse. In 20 years in the industry, he'd never seen a media tsunami this terrifying. Almost simultaneously with the EU ban. Major global media and social platforms, as if rehearsed, flooded with negative coverage of Aurora Tech thermal runaway. Fatal defects. Corporate fraud. Every word was a knife to the company's vitals. Even worse. A 10-minute video had surfaced online. In it, a man identifying himself as a former Aurora Tech senior engineer. European. Used highly technical jargon and detailed data to dissect the physics behind the Polaris battery's inevitable thermal runaway under low-temperature high-pressure conditions. At the end, he released a lab simulation of an explosion. The footage was terrifying enough to scare away any potential customer. That video was like a carefully crafted verdict. Nailing Aurora Tech to the pillory of shame. Find out who leaked this. Olivia stormed into the PR department. Her voice sharp. She'd changed out of her white suit into a sleek black trench coat. But her pale face and trembling lips betrayed her terror. Vincent followed. Equally grim. He was on the phone constantly, trying to reach his contacts in regulatory circles and finance. But every response was the same. Cold refusals. Fair weather friends. The ones who'd called him brother were now avoiding him like the plague. Ms. Rhodes. Zhang rushed to her like a drowning man grasping at driftwood. We traced the leak. The guy calls himself Andre. He was a senior engineer at our European R&D center who left 2 years ago. But his resignation letter cited personal reasons. And he signed the highest level NDA. NDA. Olivia's laugh was hollow, laced with despair. What good is that now? He's already leaked our core tech specs. You think he cares about a worthless piece of paper? She took a deep breath, forcing herself to focus. Now's not the time for blame. David, get a team together and draft a clarification statement. Downplay the severity. Emphasize our product's safety in the domestic market. Blame the problem on isolated incidents under extreme European conditions. Announce a special investigation team and a full recall. And promise to protect consumer rights at all costs. Yes. Ms. Rhodes. Zhang rushed off to execute. Olivia turned to Vincent. What about legal? Hire the best lawyers in Europe. Prepare for lawsuits. Whatever it costs. Sue the EU Inspection Bureau and this Andre character. Tell the world this is a conspiracy against us. Vincent looked uneasy. Olivia. With the stock price crashing like this, our liquid assets are limited. A cross-border suit like this would cost a fortune. Then borrow from the banks. Pledge collateral. Use every asset we have. Olivia's voice was hysterical. Aurora Tech cannot fall. It cannot fall on my watch. She was like a lioness cornered, fighting with every ounce of strength to defend her territory. But she was fighting a war she didn't understand. A war of a different dimension entirely. As she frantically directed crisis management, her phone rang again. An unknown number. She hung up in irritation. But the caller was relentless. Who is this? What do you want? She finally answered. On the other end came a voice. Calm. Almost cold. It was Derek. Olivia. Don't waste your energy. The moment she heard his voice, her blood ran cold. Derek. This was you all along. Wasn't it? She screamed into the phone. Her voice distorted by rage. A soft laugh came through the speaker. I just told the people who needed to know about a safety hazard that already existed. His voice was utterly devoid of emotion. The Polaris battery design had a flaw from day one. I submitted a full technical report a year ago. You threw it in the shredder. Olivia swayed on her feet. She remembered now. A year ago, Derek had given her a thick technical document. Something about low-temperature lithium dendrite precipitation risk assessment. She'd been busy negotiating with Wall Street Capital at the time and had no patience for the technical jargon. She'd thought Derek was just fearmongering, deliberately sabotaging her plans. In a fit of anger, she'd fed the document to the shredder right in front of him. Why you? Olivia's lips quivered, unable to form words. You thought I opposed expansion out of conservatism and jealousy. Derek's voice was like a cold scalpel, ruthlessly cutting through her self-righteousness. I was trying to save you. And Aurora. You're the one who closed the only door to survival. As for Andre, I sent him to Europe 2 years ago. After he left Aurora, he continued his risk experiments under my funding. The data he has is more complete and accurate than everything your entire R&D center put together. What are you going to sue him with? Your shoddy in-house test reports. And don't count on your connections anymore. While I was submitting the data to the EU, I sent an anonymous copy to the domestic securities regulators. Right now, they probably want Aurora Tech dead even more than you do. Every word landed like a hammer blow to Olivia's heart. Her prized business acumen, her PR strategies, her legal defenses. All of it crumbled like paper before Derek's meticulously executed scheme. Only now did she realize with horror that every victory she'd celebrated over the past year had been part of his plan all along. He was like a master chess player, watching coldly as she walked step by step into the trap he'd laid. He'd even calculated exactly when she'd celebrate her victory and when she'd receive that bank notification. Why? Why did you do this? Olivia's voice cracked, tears threatening. We were married. How could you destroy the company you built with your own hands? The company. Derek's voice finally carried a hint of mockery. It died the moment you turned it into a pure capital vehicle. I didn't destroy it. I just buried it. Oh. And one more thing. The money from selling my stock. Besides the 100 million I gave you per the divorce agreement. The rest has gone into a new project. A project that actually represents the future. The line went dead. Olivia stared blankly at her phone. The dial tone echoing in her ear. She looked around at her employees, who were now staring at her with a mix of fear and pity. In their eyes, she was no longer the invincible queen. She was just a pathetic woman crushed by her ex-husband's superior intellect. The Huangpu River glittered with the lights of cruise ships, painting the water in brilliant colors. Far from the chaos and despair of Aurora Tower, the top-floor terrace of an exclusive Bund private club was steeped in tranquility. Derek Rhodes stood by the railing in a casual linen shirt, the river breeze ruffling his hair, completely at ease. Before him sat an elegant set of purple clay tea utensils, steam rising with a delicate fragrance. Across from him, an elderly man with silver hair but sharp eyes was slowly brewing tea. His name was Professor Lin, a titan in China's semiconductor field and Derek's mentor from university. Derek, your boiling the frog move was brutal. Lin slid a freshly brewed cup of De Hong Pao toward him, his rheumy eyes gleaming with wisdom. That Bennett girl probably still doesn't understand how she died. Derek lifted the cup and took a sip, saying nothing. I've met her. Too eager for quick results. Obsessed with capital operations. Treating technology like a commodity you can wrap up and sell. Lin shook his head with a sigh. She doesn't understand that true core technology has a life of its own. It has a temper. If you don't respect it, it'll bite back. Professor. It's in the past. Derek finally spoke. His voice calm. Aurora Tech's history is over. Yes. It's over. Lin nodded. Then shifted gears. His eyes growing intense. So what's next? That new project you mentioned. What is it? Derek set down his cup and pulled from his bag a black wafer about the size of a palm. The surface had no visible connectors, but it shimmered with a strange, almost organic luster. Professor, do you remember the theory I proposed in my thesis? Lin's body jerked. He stared at the black wafer, his breathing quickening. You mean practical application of room temperature superconducting materials? You actually made it. Derek smiled faintly and nodded. It's not fully complete. Call it a prototype. He placed the wafer on the table. I call it onyx. It can achieve 99.0 resistance conduction at room temperature and pressure. More importantly, he paused, his gaze deepening. Its superconducting phase transition is controllable. With a specific high-frequency magnetic field, we can instantly switch its superconducting state on or off. Lin's hand trembled as he reached for the onyx, stopping just short of touching it, as if facing a sacred artifact. As one of the country's leading physicists, he understood better than anyone what this small wafer meant. It meant energy transmission losses approaching zero. It meant clearing the biggest hurdle to quantum computing development. It meant the dawn of the fourth industrial revolution. Derek, you're insane. And a genius. Lin was flushed with excitement. You've been sitting on something this monumental while watching that woman treat her battery tech like a treasure. Professor, the timing wasn't right. Derek shook his head. Onyx's manufacturing process is extremely complex and astronomically expensive. More importantly, its emergence would completely upend the global energy and technology landscape. Announcing it prematurely without enough protection would only invite destruction. Like a child walking through a market with a gold brick. Lin understood instantly. He looked at Derek with admiration and pride. So you orchestrated this whole scheme through Aurora Tech cleaned house. And used the money from shorting the market to fund your next move. Still not enough. Derek shook his head. Mass-producing onyx requires a production line completely independent of, and beyond, anything currently on Earth. The nearly 100 billion I cashed out, plus profits from the short, barely covers the first phase. I need more money. And more talent. He turned his gaze to the other side of the terrace, where several figures stood. Men and women. Young and old. Each face bore the same mix of shock and fervor Lin had shown moments ago. These were the top technical talents Derek had quietly recruited over the past few years. From Aurora Tech and around the world. Materials scientists. Software engineers. Quantum physicists. They'd known Derek was secretly working on a groundbreaking project. But they'd never seen Onyx until today. Everyone. Derek stood and addressed them. I know many of you gave up generous offers abroad. Some even risked lawsuits from Aurora Tech to trust me. Now I'm showing you what I've built. This is the future I promised you. The one that can change the world. From today on, our new company, Apex, is officially born. I won't promise you an easier life than at Aurora. But I can promise you this, every project you work on from now on will go down in history. I need your wisdom. I need your loyalty. Are you willing to turn this future into reality? No one spoke. But in every eye burned a fire. The fire of finding a life's purpose. Finally, a young man with thick glasses adjusted them and spoke. His voice trembling with excitement. Mr. Rhodes. Are you still hiring? I have a few juniors at MIT working on quantum entanglement. They're way better than me. Can I bring them in? The room erupted. Mr. Rhodes. My former boss at Intel is a lithography expert. I'll reach out to him right away. And me. I have a friend at the Max Planck Institute working on high-energy particle collisions. Derek looked at their eager faces and smiled. This was the team he truly wanted. This was the empire he was building. And Olivia and her Aurora Tech. Just a stepping stone. Tossed into the furnace to forge this invincible army. Over the next 48 hours. Aurora Tech's stock price went into freefall. From a peak of 300 billion. It crashed through 50 billion with no sign of stopping. Olivia's pledged shares were forcibly liquidated by banks and brokers at the next market open. Massive sell orders only intensified the panic. In a single night, she'd gone from a tech queen worth billions to a debt-ridden pariah. Her private jet, mansions, luxury cars, all the trappings of wealth she'd been so proud of, were seized and sealed by the courts. The so-called socialite friends who'd called her Olivia and hung on her every word vanished without a trace. What crushed her even more was the implosion from within. First, the tech division. When news broke that Derek had founded Apex and was developing a technology far beyond the Polaris battery, over 80% of Aurora's core engineers tendered their resignations overnight. They'd rather pay massive penalties than stay. They were following their true leader. Then came sales and marketing. With products banned globally and orders cancelled en masse, the sales elite jumped ship one after another. In 3 short days, the once glorious Aurora Tech had become a hollow shell. Olivia collapsed entirely. She locked herself in her empty office, eating nothing, drinking nothing, refusing to answer calls. Over and over, she scrolled through old photos of herself and Derek, meeting, falling in love, starting the company together, ringing the Nasdaq bell. She couldn't understand how things had gone so wrong. She'd tried so hard. She'd taken the company from a small workshop to the world stage. What had she done wrong? Was it really because she'd fallen for Vincent? Because she'd pushed Derek out? But if Derek hadn't been so stubborn and conservative, could the company have grown so fast? Regret, resentment, anger, confusion. They gnawed at her like vipers. Just as she was about to break completely, the office door burst open. Vincent rushed in. Disheveled. Suit wrinkled. Eyes bloodshot. He looked like a wreck. Olivia. He grabbed her arm, shaking her. We can't just wait to die. I have a plan. We can still turn this around. Olivia looked up numbly. Her eyes hollow. Turn it around. How? The company's gone. What do we have left? No. The company's still here. Vincent's eyes burned with a desperate madness. We still have one thing. One thing Derek would never let go of. What? The Polaris battery patents. All of them. All the technical data. Vincent lowered his voice. Urgent and venomous. Gen 3 has flaws. But Gen 1 and 2 are solid. Those patents are still worth a fortune. And the core ones are still registered under Derek's name. Olivia froze. Not understanding. Vincent leaned in. His voice a whisper. We can sell them to our competitors. Samsung. Tesla. They've been eyeing Aurora's tech for years. We sell them the patents. get a huge payout, and create a powerful enemy for Derek's apex. Are you insane? Olivia shrieked, shoving him away. That's corporate espionage. It's a crime. And those are Derek's. Derek. Vincent cut her off. His face contorted. You still think of him as your husband. He's backed us into a corner. And you want to protect his patents. Wake up. Olivia. We're in this together. We either survive together or die together. All we have to do is keep it quiet. Get the money and get out of the country. No one will find us. Olivia stared at this man. Familiar yet utterly foreign. And felt a deep chill run through her. She'd always believed Vincent loved her. That he was her safe harbor. Now she saw that in a crisis. He was more selfish and vicious than she'd ever imagined. No. I can't do this. She shook her head instinctively. It wasn't just illegal. It would be the final desecration of everything she and Derek had shared for 12 years. She could lose the company. But she couldn't lose her last shred of integrity. Don't be naive. When he saw he couldn't persuade her, Vincent's eyes flashed with cruelty. Without another word, he spun around, yanked open her desk drawer, and grabbed a set of keys. The backup keys to the company's core server room. What are you doing? Olivia lunged at him. But Vincent was faster. He pulled a handkerchief from his pocket and pressed it over her nose and mouth. An acrid, sweet smell flooded her senses. Olivia's vision went black. Her strength drained away as she crumpled to the floor. The last thing she saw before consciousness faded was Vincent's greed-crazed face and his cruel smirk. Olivia woke to a pounding headache. Lying on the office floor, her hands and feet bound, her mouth taped, Vincent sat in her chair. A laptop and several packed external hard drives on the desk before him. He seemed to be on a video call with an overseas buyer. Using encrypted software. Yes. All the core data of Polaris 1, 0 through 3, 0 is here. I guarantee their authenticity. $50 million. No, that's for one generation only. If you want everything. The price is $150 million. Yes. US dollars. Olivia's heart sank into a frozen abyss. He'd actually done it. And then the office door swung open again. But this time, it wasn't anyone she recognized. It was a squad of uniformed police officers. Grim-faced. Professional. Their leader, a middle-aged detective with hawk-like eyes, scanned the room and fixed his gaze on Vincent. Vincent Hayes. You are under arrest for commercial espionage, theft of trade secrets, and unlawful imprisonment. Vincent's expression went from greed to shock to terror in an instant. He slammed the laptop shut and tried to run. But it was too late. 2 officers pinned him to the ground. And cold handcuffs clicked around his wrists. Olivia stared, bewildered. How had the police arrived so fast? Then she saw a figure in the doorway. Someone she hadn't expected. Derek. He looked as calm as ever. As if the scene unfolding before him had nothing to do with him. His gaze passed over the pinned Vincent and landed on Olivia. His eyes were unreadable. You. How did you? Olivia struggled. Muffled sounds coming from behind the tape. Derek didn't answer her. He just nodded at the lead detective. Captain Chen. Thank you. Just doing our job. Captain Chen clapped his shoulder. Mr. Rhodes. That was a brilliant bait the snake out of its hole maneuver. If you hadn't reported the crime in advance and fed out that available for trade misinformation under our surveillance, we might never have caught this big fish. Derek smiled faintly. He was too greedy. Greedy people always make mistakes. He walked slowly over to Olivia, crouched down, and tore the tape from her mouth. She gasped, coughing, looking up at him. Her eyes were a storm of emotions. You called the police. Derek didn't answer directly. Did you think I'd stand by and watch you and him sell 12 years of our work to a pack of jackals? Olivia's tears finally broke free. She'd thought he hated her, wanted her dead. But in the end, he'd been the one to pull her from the abyss. Why? He'd already won. Derek looked at her tear-streaked face. And something flickered in his eyes. He stood, pulled a document from his pocket, and placed it gently before her. A share transfer agreement. What is this? Olivia's voice cracked. 10% of Aurora Tech. Derek's voice was steady. I bought it back on the open market with the 100 million I got from you. Legally. It belongs to me now. But I've decided to give it to you. Olivia was utterly stunned. His actions made no sense. He'd destroyed the company. Yet saved her when she was most desperate. He'd taken everything from her. And now he was giving part of it back. What was he trying to do? Why? She whispered. Derek didn't look at her. His gaze drifted to the window. Toward the city skyline he'd once known so intimately. His voice was soft. As if carried from a distant time. Because, Aurora, is the name I gave your daughter. I can't let her name be forever tied to a criminal enterprise. He turned and walked out of the office without another glance. Leaving Olivia alone on the cold floor. Clutching the agreement as her tears blurred the world. Olivia didn't know how long she sat there. Outside. The sky darkened. Aurora Tech's headquarters, once ablaze with lights, was now eerily quiet. An entire floor. Only her. She looked down at the equity transfer agreement. Still warm from Derek's touch. Tears fell silently again. Only now did she finally understand. Derek had never tried to destroy her. It was she who destroyed herself. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She answered mechanically. Ms. Rhodes. This is David Wong from the Aurora Tech Creditors Committee. Under court order. Aurora Tech will enter asset auction proceedings in 3 days. As former chairman, we request your presence. Understood, she said. And hung up. The office fell silent again. 3 days later, Aurora Tech would be dismantled. The place she'd fought for 12 years had finally reached its end. Then her eye fell on the bottom drawer of her desk. An old cardboard box. Miscellaneous items left behind when they'd moved offices. She'd never opened it. She pulled it out. Inside were relics from the early days, yellowed contracts, old hard drives, abandoned notebooks, and one faded photograph. In the picture, 24-year-old Derek wore a cheap shirt, smiling shyly. Beside him, she herself, ponytailed, holding 2 bottles of Coke. The backdrop was a cramped rental room barely 20 square meters. The first day of Aurora Tech. Olivia stared at the photo as memories flooded back. Back then, the company had no money. Derek coded during the day. Took freelance work at night. Months of sleeping only 4 hours. She'd handled sales. Been cursed out by clients more times than she could count. One winter, she'd had a 104-degree fever. Derek carried her to 3 hospitals. Staying up all night. Later, when he collapsed from exhaustion, she'd just recovered. Another time, when funding fell through and investors pulled out, Derek secretly sold the house his parents had left him to keep the company alive. When had she started forgetting all of this? Holding the photo, Olivia broke down completely. Across town, at Apex Tech Park, it was 11 p.m. The entire lab building blazed with lights. Hundreds of engineers were hard at work. Inside the central lab, Derek stood before a massive vacuum chamber. His expression focused. Commencing 3rd test run. Confirmed. Silence fell. Everyone held their breath. The equipment hummed to life. Blue currents surged wildly. Instrument readings flickered. 5 minutes later, a researcher shot to his feet, voice trembling with excitement. We have success. We have success. The lab erupted. Loss rate, 0.003%. Conductivity efficiency, 997%. Unbelievable. Professor Lin stared at the screen. His face flushed. As one of the country's leading scientists, he knew better than anyone what this data meant. If it went into mass production, the global energy industry would never be the same. Derek finally smiled. The first-generation Onyx was officially a success. Then his assistant hurried in. Mr. Rhodes. What is it? The Chinese Academy of Sciences is here. Derek frowned slightly. That fast? The assistant nodded. And it's not just anyone. Who? The assistant took a breath. The Academy president. The entire lab fell silent. 10 minutes later, in Apex Tech's conference room, the air was thick with tension. When Derek entered, 3 people were already seated. In the center, an elderly man in a simple Mao suit commanded respect from everyone present. Dr. Gu Guohua, president of the Chinese Academy of Sciences. A figure at the very pinnacle of China's scientific establishment. When he saw Derek, Dr. Gu rose. "Mr. Rhodes, I've heard a great deal about you." Derek was briefly surprised, then extended his hand. "President Gu, you're too kind." The handshake, a simple gesture, left the Academy expert stunned. Dr. Gu's status was such that he rarely rose to greet anyone. And Derek was barely 35. "Please, sit." Dr. Gu smiled. They took their seats. Dr. Gu didn't waste words. "Is onyx real?" Derek nodded. "Yes." "Room temperature superconductivity?" "Yes." "Mass producible?" "Theoretically." "Yes." Silence fell, even having been briefed in advance. Hearing Derek confirm it made the experts' breathing quicken. Room temperature superconductor. Those 3 words carried weight enough to reshape the world. Dr. Gu studied Derek with a penetrating gaze. "May I see it?" "Of course." Derek led them to the lab. Half an hour later, Dr. Gu stood before the equipment in silence. Instrument readings don't lie. Test results don't lie. This unassuming black material was making history. At last, Dr. Gu let out a long breath. "Derek." It was the first time he'd called him by name. "The nation needs you." Derek said nothing. Dr. Gu continued, "I know you've been through a lot these past few years. I know what happened with Aurora Tech. But from today on, Onyx no longer belongs only to you. It concerns the future of this nation." Derek paused, then nodded slowly. "I understand." Dr. Gu finally smiled. "Good. Then let me tell you something in return." "What?" Dr. Gu's expression grew grave. "You're being watched." Derek's brow furrowed. "Foreign?" "Yes." Dr. Gu slid a file across the table. Derek opened it. The first page was an intelligence summary: the U.S. Energy Alliance, the European Technology Association, the Asian Semiconductor Foundation, even several of the world's top conglomerates. All appeared on the list. And at the top, a name highlighted in red: Blackstone Capital. Derek's eyes narrowed. Dr. Gu's voice was low. "Over the past week, they've sent at least 7 investigative teams into the country. Their target is one thing: Apex Tech specifically. You." The conference room grew heavy. Dr. Gu pressed on. "If Onyx goes into mass production, oil, electricity, energy, chips, aviation, everything gets reshuffled. Some will win. Some will lose everything. And those who lose, they don't sit idle." Derek closed the file. But instead of alarm, a faint smile played on his lips. "They've finally come." Dr. Gu blinked. "You knew?" Derek nodded. "From the day I decided to start the Onyx project, I knew this day would come." He stood, gaze fixed through the window at the horizon. "Apex has never been just another tech company. The whole point of its existence is to change the rules." Dr. Gu stared for a moment, then burst into laughter. "Excellent. With that attitude, I'm reassured." Meanwhile, at Aurora Tech's headquarters, the auction was underway. The once magnificent building now stood empty and hollow. On the podium, the auctioneer called out asset prices: Aurora Tech RD Center. Starting bid 500 million. 600. 700. 800. Bids flew. In the corner, Olivia sat in a daze, watching her empire being carved up piece by piece. Then a young assistant hurried over. "Ms. Rhodes." "What?" "Breaking news. Apex Tech's lab just announced a major breakthrough. The Chinese Academy of Sciences has officially partnered with Apex." Olivia's body jolted. She looked up, voice hoarse. "The Academy partnered?" "Yes." The assistant nodded excitedly. "The whole tech world is buzzing. Everyone's saying Apex could become the next global tech giant." Olivia sat frozen. Her mind flashed back to that night years ago in the cramped rental, when Derek had hugged his computer and told her excitedly, "Olivia, one day I'll show the world what Chinese technology can do." She'd smiled and said, "Great. When that day comes, I'll be your CEO." But then she'd forgotten. She'd pushed away the man who believed most in his dreams. A single tear landed silently on the auction invitation. And she still didn't know. The storm that would truly shake the world had only just begun. New York. Manhattan Financial District. Blackstone Capital headquarters. Top floor. The enormous conference room was packed. If any financial journalist had been present, they would have been stunned speechless. Every person in this room controlled hundreds of billions in assets. Energy, chips, automotive, defense, artificial intelligence. They held the lifelines of the Western world in their hands. At the front of the room, a massive screen displayed information on Apex Tech specifically. On Derek Rhodes. Ladies and gentlemen. An elderly man began. And the room fell silent instantly. Adam Roth. Core member of the Rothschild family. De facto controller of Blackstone Capital. A man who could sway the global economy. Fixed his gaze on Derek's photo. Regarding Apex Tech. Do we have the investigation results? A middle-aged man rose. Yes. Proceed. Derek Rhodes. 34. China's top scientist. Founder of Aurora Tech. 1 month ago. He personally destroyed the company he built. Current net worth approximately 200 billion yuan. Most critically. He paused. The onyx material is highly likely to be real. Murmurs rippled through the room. Adam's eyes narrowed. Confirmed. 80%. The Chinese Academy of Sciences has already stepped in. Dr. Gu personally involved. If it were fake, the state wouldn't be this invested. Silence fell. Everyone understood the implications. Room temperature superconductivity meant plunging oil prices. A complete energy infrastructure overhaul. A total reordering of the global economy. And they were the biggest beneficiaries of the old order. Adam was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. His voice soft but absolute, it cannot succeed. One sentence. Determining countless fates. Contact the Energy Alliance. Contact Goldman Sachs. Contact Morgan Stanley. Contact Tesla and Intel. Initiate Project Hunt. I want Apex dead before it ever reaches mass production. Meanwhile. Apex Tech headquarters. 2 a.m. The lab still blazed with light. Onyx was in its final sprint. Derek had just finished a meeting when his phone vibrated. Dr. Gu. President Gu. Derek. Where are you? The voice was unusually serious. The lab. Stop all travel. Immediately. Derek frowned. What's happened? Dr. Gu's voice was grim. State security just intercepted intelligence. Foreign operatives have entered the country. The target is you. The air went still. Derek's eyes hardened. Confirmed. Confirmed. Starting now. Your security will be upgraded. Additionally, the area around Apex Tech has been designated for enhanced protection. Derek said nothing for a moment. Then a smile crossed his face. They're getting desperate. Dr. Gu sighed. You're smiling at a time like this. Because it means. Derek said. Looking toward the Onyx test site at the center of the lab. We're on the right track. The next day. The tech world was shaken again. The Chinese Academy of Sciences issued a public announcement. Official strategic partnership with Apex Tech. Chaos erupted online. Capital flooded toward Apex. The investment lines were overwhelmed. Meanwhile, Aurora Tech's auction reached its final item. The headquarters building itself. Starting bid, 3 billion. The bidding was fierce. 4 billion. 4.5. 5 billion. It climbed past 6 billion. Just as everyone thought the result was settled. A voice rang out, 8 billion. Silence. Everyone turned. The speaker, Derek Rhodes. He walked in calmly. As if buying a routine item. The auctioneer's voice trembled with excitement. 8 billion. Any higher? No one dared to bid. 8 billion was far above market value. 8 billion. First call. 8 billion. Second call. 8 billion. Third call. Sold. The gavel fell. Applause filled the room. In the corner. Olivia stared. Bewildered. Why was Derek buying this back? After the signing. Derek walked slowly toward her. Their first face-to-face since the divorce. She rose instinctively. Her expression a tangle of emotions. Why are you buying this? She asked softly. Derek looked at the familiar building outside the window. Silent for a long moment. Because this is where Aurora was born. Olivia's body trembled. Aurora. Derek nodded. When she grows up. I want her to see the place where her parents once fought for their dreams. Those words shattered Olivia's defenses. The tears came, uncontrollable, flooding out. But Derek had already turned away, not looking back. His parting words, "Tomorrow is Aurora's birthday. If you have time, go see her." Olivia was stunned. In the chaos of the past month, consumed by the company and Vincent, she'd forgotten her own daughter's birthday. In that moment, she finally grasped what she'd truly lost. The next morning, at Harbor International Hotel, the entire top-floor ballroom had been booked. Flowers and ribbons decorated the entrance, staff bustled about. This wasn't a business reception, nor an investment forum. It was a little girl's 6th birthday. At the center of the ballroom, little Aurora wore a white princess dress with 2 cute buns. She was hugging an enormous stuffed bear. Beaming, "Daddy, is this for me too?" Derek crouched down and gently pinched her cheek. "Of course. Everything here is yours today." The little girl's eyes crinkled into crescents. "Daddy's the best." Everyone around laughed softly. No one could imagine that the man the outside world knew as an ice-cold tech genius could be so tender with his daughter. Just then, a stir at the entrance. Derek looked up. Olivia had arrived. She stood at the door, holding a beautifully wrapped gift box, looking uncertain, like a child who'd done something wrong. Aurora froze. Then her eyes lit up. "Mommy." The little girl ran to her. Olivia's body shook as she looked at her daughter, her eyes reddening instantly. "Mommy, why haven't you come to see me for so long?" Those words stabbed Olivia like a knife. She could barely speak. In the past month, she'd poured all her energy into the company and Vincent, forgetting the most important person. "I'm sorry." She crouched down, holding her daughter tight, her voice breaking. "Mommy's sorry." Aurora was young, but she wiped her mother's tears with her tiny hand. "Don't cry, Mommy," Daddy said. "If you do something wrong, just fix it." Olivia was stunned. She looked up at Derek across the room, and her heart twisted. Even now, Derek had never said a bad word about her in front of their daughter. He'd always protected her image as a mother. And what had she done? She'd doubted him, humiliated him, thrown him out of the company. Her tears flowed freely. After the party began, more guests arrived, many of them tech industry heavyweights. Once, they'd come for Aurora Tech. Now, they came for Apex. At the reception, entrepreneurs toasted Derek, their voices full of respect. Olivia sat in a corner, watching. It felt like another life. Once, these honors had been hers. Now they'd return to the man who'd truly earned them. Then the ballroom doors swung open. Several suited men entered, led by a blonde foreigner with a polite smile, but ice-cold eyes. Derek's gaze sharpened. They'd arrived. "Blackstone. Mr. Rhodes." The foreigner extended his hand. "Allow me to introduce myself. James, head of Blackstone Capital, Asia region." A murmur went through the crowd. Blackstone, one of the world's largest investment groups, with over 10 trillion in assets. No one expected them to show up here. Derek spoke flatly, "Business." James's smile didn't waver. "I'm here on behalf of Blackstone. We wish to acquire 51% of Apex Tech." Dead silence. Everyone thought they'd misheard. A direct acquisition. And a controlling stake. The audacity was staggering. Derek smiled. "Price." James held up one finger. $1 trillion. Gasps. Even the top-tier entrepreneurs in the room were shaken by that number. But Derek just shook his head. "Not interested." James's smile faded. "Mr. Rhodes, you may not understand what you're refusing. I understand perfectly," Derek said calmly. "That's why I'm refusing." James paused for a moment, then gave an enigmatic smile. "I hope you won't regret this." He turned and left. The atmosphere turned somber. Everyone realized this wouldn't end here. And Olivia, watching from the corner, felt a threat she'd never experienced before. She realized the enemies Derek now faced were nothing like Vincent. They were titans standing at the very top of the world. That night, Blackstone headquarters. James dialed a number. "Sir." The negotiation failed. Silence on the other end. Then an icy voice, "Proceed with option 2. James's heart clenched. Understood. He hung up and stared out the window. Eyes cold. Derek Rhodes. Hope you can handle the cost of refusing Blackstone. Meanwhile, back in Harbor City, Derek was watching his daughter blow out her birthday candles. No one knew that a real crisis had already begun. 1 week later, Harbor City Intermediate Court. The courthouse was packed with journalists. Cameras aimed at the entrance. Today was the final judgment in the Aurora Tech case. The nationwide corporate fraud scandal was reaching its conclusion. At 9 a.m., the trial began. The gallery was full. Derek was there. So was Olivia. They sat rows apart, saying nothing. Minutes later, Vincent Hayes was led in by bailiffs. In just over a month, the once arrogant business elite had become a different person. Unkempt, pale, his eyes devoid of confidence. When he saw Olivia in the gallery, he trembled. Olivia. Olivia looked at him with cold, unfeeling eyes. In that moment, Vincent understood, he'd lost everything. The prosecution presented one piece of evidence after another. Commercial fraud, embezzlement, insider trading, illegal asset transfers. Every charge was airtight. As the case deepened, more truth emerged. According to the investigation, the defendant, Vincent Hayes, over 3 years, embezzled a total of 4.7 billion yuan in company assets. Gasps. Even those prepared for the worst were shocked by the figure. Additionally, the defendant has long leaked core trade secrets to foreign entities, causing substantial damage to Aurora Tech. Documents flashed on the screen. Overwhelming proof. Vincent hung his head, silent. Olivia's face grew paler. Many of these documents she'd never seen. Until now, she hadn't realized how foolish she'd been. She'd trusted a con artist and doubted the one who truly loved her. Then the prosecution added, "We will now play a key recording." Vincent's voice emerged, "Don't worry. Derek's been neutralized. In 6 months, Aurora will be ours." Another voice, and Olivia. Vincent's dismissive laugh, "A woman. Just flatter her. She has no idea who really runs this company." The recording played through the courtroom. Olivia stiffened, her face bloodless. Vincent continued, "After the IPO, I'll take my shares. As for Olivia, when I'm done with her." Silence. Everyone was stunned. Vincent had been using Olivia from the very beginning. Olivia herself was shattered. All that so-called devotion, all that support, it was all fake. For this man, she'd destroyed her marriage, destroyed Aurora Tech, destroyed Derek's last shred of trust in her. Tears slid down. She finally understood where she'd gone wrong. 2 hours later, the trial concluded. The judge read the sentence: Defendant Vincent Hayes, convicted of commercial fraud, embezzlement, insider trading, and illegal asset transfer. On all counts, sentenced to 20 years imprisonment. The gavel fell. The case was closed. Vincent slumped in the defendant's chair. His life was over. As bailiffs led him past the gallery, he stopped, looking at Olivia with one last trace of bitterness. "Olivia, I really did love you." But Olivia rose calmly and looked at him. "Too bad. The person I should have trusted the most was never you." Vincent stared, then let out a bitter laugh as the bailiffs took him away. After the trial, everyone filed out. But Olivia remained, sitting alone in the empty courtroom, staring at the defendant's seat. Footsteps. She looked up. Derek. They faced each other in silence. At last, Olivia spoke, "I'm sorry." Derek said nothing. "I know it means nothing now, but I want to say it anyway. I'm sorry." Her voice cracked, tears streaming. "What I owe you, I can never repay." A long silence. Then Derek sighed softly. "Let the past stay in the past." Olivia looked up, a flicker of hope in her eyes. "Derek, forgiveness is possible," he said. "But some things can't be undone." Her hope faded. She bowed her head, tears falling. He was right. Some wounds, even forgiven, couldn't be erased. Just then, Derek's phone rang. "Professor Lin." His voice was urgent. "Derek, we've got trouble." Derek's expression shifted. "What?" "A cyber attack on the lab. Onyx core data is being targeted." Derek's eyes went cold. Blackstone's revenge had finally arrived. 30 minutes later, Apex Tech headquarters. The entire tech center was in crisis mode. Hundreds of monitors blazed, code scrolled frantically. The tension was suffocating. Derek strode into the command center. Status. Professor Lin's face was grim. Since midnight, over 30,000 foreign IPs have been attacking Apex's servers. Professional level. Target, the Onyx database. Derek studied the screens. The attack traffic was still climbing. Ordinary hackers couldn't do this. It was organized. Premeditated. Damage. None yet. Core data is isolated. But if this keeps up, our outer systems won't hold much longer. Derek paused. Activate the Aegis system. Gasps. Aegis. Apex Tech's highest-level defense program. An AI network firewall designed by Derek himself. Never deployed. Never revealed. The tech lead swallowed. Mr. Rhodes. Are you sure? Sure. Activate. The server room's hum intensified. Servers roared to life. On screen, red alerts began disappearing. 1 minute. 2. 5. The attack traffic was being reversed. The tech lead jumped up. Countermeasures successful. Attack nodes are exposed. Locations locked. Coordinates flashed across the screen: New York, London, Tokyo, Seoul, Paris, Berlin. Over 20 countries. The room fell silent. This wasn't business competition. It was a global siege on Apex Tech. Derek studied the map. His gaze hardening. Keep tracking. I want to know who. 10 minutes later. A list arrived. Professor Lin gasped at the first name, Blackstone Capital. And behind it, over a dozen of the world's largest financial conglomerates. Together, they could shake half the global economy. They really think highly of me. Derek's smile held no warmth. New York. Blackstone headquarters. James's face was dark. We failed. The tech lead was sweating. They have an advanced AI defense system. Not only did we fail, we exposed our attack sources. James smashed a coffee cup. Useless. Then the office doors opened. Adam Roth walked in. Everyone rose. Sir. Adam was calm. Unsurprised. This Derek is tougher than expected. James lowered his head. My apologies. Adam waved it off. Didn't expect success on the first try. He walked to the window, overlooking the glittering New York skyline. Start phase 2. James stiffened. You mean capital blockade? Adam's eyes were ice. Since we can't beat his tech, we'll starve him of money. The next day, global financial media ran simultaneous headlines. Dozens of international capital institutions announced suspension of all cooperation with Apex Tech. Then international raw material suppliers terminated contracts. Overseas equipment manufacturers halted shipments. Multiple banks froze credit lines. In one day, Apex Tech seemed isolated from the world. The news shook the domestic tech sector. Everyone understood, foreign capital was panicking. They feared Onyx's success. So they'd stop at nothing to block it. But to everyone's surprise, Apex Tech held a press conference that same day. At the conference, Derek said only one sentence: from today, Apex will no longer purchase any foreign equipment. All core technology will be fully localized. Shock. Reporters wondered if they'd heard right. Localization. So many high-end devices were controlled by foreign companies, complete replacement seemed impossible. But Derek was calm. Additionally, the global Onyx launch will be moved up. In 3 days. The room erupted. All media scrambled. All capital scrambled. All nations scrambled. Because they knew the day that would determine the future of tech was coming. Meanwhile, across town, Olivia watched the press conference on TV. She sat in silence. She realized that the young man who'd once sketched futures in that cramped rental had truly reached the world stage. And she'd been the one to let him slip away. Night deepened. Olivia clenched her fist. Making a decision for the first time, she would do something for Derek. No matter what. Even if it was just atonement. Even if he never forgave her. Because this time, she wasn't going to stand on the wrong side. 3 days later. China National Convention Center. 7 a.m. 2 hours until the event. But the area was already packed. Media from over 60 countries had gathered in Harbor City. CNN, BBC, Reuters. The Wall Street Journal. Even national TV crews. This far exceeded a typical commercial launch. Because everyone knew they might witness the birth of a new era. Backstage. Professor Lin looked at the media list and chuckled. I've been in research for decades. Never seen anything like this. Derek was reviewing his speech. He smiled. Nervous. Obviously. Lin rolled his eyes. There are representatives from over a dozen national academies out there. Plus international capital. If you don't deliver today, we'll be the laughingstock of the world. Derek set down his notes. Don't worry. I won't let them down. An assistant hurried in. Mr. Rhodes. It's time. 9 a.m. The lights dimmed. The vast hall fell silent as every camera trained on the stage. A spotlight blazed. Derek walked onto the stage. Thunderous applause. Lasting a full minute. Flashbulbs exploded. Derek stood calmly until the applause faded. Then began, Good morning, everyone. I'm Derek Rhodes, founder of Apex Tech. More applause. He got straight to the point. For over a century, human progress has been limited by energy efficiency, power loss, storage limits, material bottlenecks. Scientists have wrestled with these problems for generations. Today, Apex Tech offers its answer. The screen blazed to life. A dark, metallic wafer. Onyx. The room went silent. He continued, This is Onyx. The world's first mass-producible room temperature superconducting material. The hall erupted. Though many had guessed. Hearing it confirmed was still breathtaking. Journalists scribbled furiously. Experts stood. Online comments exploded. Derek didn't stop. Now, please observe the demonstration. From the center of the stage, testing equipment rose. 100-meter-long conduction array appeared. Every camera focused. Begin. The current surged. Instruments hummed. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. 1 minute. All monitoring data displayed on screen. Loss rate, 0. Resistance, 0. Temperature, room. Absolute silence. Then, chaos. Everyone stood. Screams. Cheers. Applause. Gasps. A German Academy expert was red-faced, My God. Impossible. An American professor rushed to the front for a closer look. But the results were undeniable. Onyx was real. Room temperature superconductivity was real. In that moment, the world was shaken. New York. Blackstone headquarters. The conference room was dead silent. Every face was grim. On the main screen, the live broadcast continued. Onyx's test results had destroyed their last shred of hope. James was pale. Sir. He succeeded. Adam Roth said nothing. Staring at the screen. Finally, he closed his eyes. As a titan of capital, he knew better than anyone what Onyx meant. The old era was over. At the venue, the celebration lasted 5 minutes before settling. Just as everyone thought the event was over, Derek smiled. If you think Onyx is just a superconducting material, you'd be wrong. Silence. What else? He gestured. A second screen lit up, revealing a sleek, silver-white electric car. Now, allow me to introduce the first commercial application of Onyx technology, the Apex Future One. Another explosion of reaction. Eyes wide. Breaths held. Everyone sensed that what would truly change the world was only just beginning. In the VIP section, Olivia watched the radiant man on stage, and tears streamed down her face. She knew, from today, Derek would stand at the top of the world, and she could only watch from the crowd. That night, Derek's phone rang. An overseas number. He answered. Mr. Rhodes. Adam Roth's voice. Let's talk. Derek looked out at the city lights. About what? Cooperation. Derek smiled. A month ago, Blackstone had been trying to destroy Apex. Now they were offering cooperation. That alone spoke volumes. Mr. Rhodes. Adam continued. In this world, there are no eternal enemies. Only interests. Blackstone is willing to open all its resources to help Apex enter global markets. In return, we ask for exclusive overseas distribution rights for the Future One. Derek was silent for a moment. Then, Mr. Roth. Do you know why I founded Apex? Silence. 20 years ago, China wanted to buy a high-end machine. They wouldn't sell. 15 years ago, China wanted to license core technology. They blocked it. 10 years ago, Chinese companies trying to enter overseas markets were suppressed. So, Derek's voice was calm but carried unshakable conviction. Apex was never about joining your game. It's about making others adapt to us. The line went dead. In New York, Adam sat silent for a long time. Then a bitter smile. Lost. Completely lost. He knew, their era was over. 3 months later, Apex Tech officially launched its IPO. The news shook global capital markets. On listing day, money poured in. The stock skyrocketed. In a single trading session, Apex's market value exceeded $3 trillion. Surpassing Apple. Surpassing Microsoft. Becoming the world's largest tech company. Derek Rhodes became the world's richest man. Global media covered him, Time cover. Financial Times Person of the Year. Most influential entrepreneur. Honors poured in. But Derek rarely gave interviews. Because for him, these things had long lost meaning. 6 months later, the old Aurora Tech headquarters, renovated, had become Apex Tech's AI Research Center. The original name was kept, Aurora Hall. At Derek's insistence. Because it carried too many memories. One day, Aurora's school held a parent-child event. Derek cancelled all work to attend. On the playground, Aurora was playing happily with classmates. A little boy said enviously, "Aurora, your dad is amazing. Everyone online says he's the richest man in the world." Aurora lifted her chin proudly. "Of course. My daddy is the best daddy ever." Derek laughed. Then a familiar figure approached. Olivia. She'd lost weight over the past 6 months. But there was a steadiness about her. Since Aurora Tech's bankruptcy, she hadn't started another business. Instead, she worked at a charity foundation helping entrepreneurs who'd failed. It was her penance. Her atonement. They stood at the edge of the field. Neither speaking first. Finally, Olivia said softly, "Congratulations." Derek smiled. "Thank you." A pause. Olivia looked at their daughter in the distance. "I've always wanted to ask you something." "What?" "If you could go back, would you still marry me?" The breeze carried children's laughter. Derek was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Yes." Olivia's eyes reddened instantly. "Why?" Derek looked into the distance. As if back in that cramped rental. That girl who'd eaten instant noodles with him. Who'd believed in his dream. "Because those years were real. And my love for you was real." Olivia finally broke down. Tears she'd held in since the divorce. But she knew, some things can never go back. Some people, once lost, are gone forever. "I'm sorry," she said again. Derek smiled gently. "It's in the past." Yes, it was in the past. No resentment. No revenge. No obsession. Because he'd found a life much bigger than that. And she'd finally learned to take responsibility for her own choices. Perhaps that was the best ending of all. Evening. Sunset bathed the playground. Aurora held both her parents' hands, walking happily toward the school gate. In this moment, there was no world's richest man. No business queen. No success or failure. Just an ordinary family. Who'd loved, lost, and hurt each other. But at least there was a little girl named Aurora. Connecting all the broken pieces. The sky blazed with sunset colors. A new era had begun. And the legend of Derek Rhodes would be remembered by countless generations to come.